Japanese film involving cats. Whatever could go wrong? Hi, my name's Drew. Welcome to another review video on my channel. You might be wondering, I am doing a film, well, at least the title on Netflix, the English version of it, is A Whisker Away, which is particularly strange. I'll talk about that a bit later on. It's a Netflix film, it's an animated film, it's Japanese, and you might think, why on earth would you watch it? Well, it's rather simple really. It popped up in our Netflix suggestions, seemingly like everywhere today. You're surveyed and they obviously know that we are cat people, we absolutely love cats. Fuck the dogs. Nah. Just kidding, obviously we like dogs as well, we just have cats because we don't have time to walk dogs. Anyway, so we are cat people, this popped up and we decided to give it a go and watch it. The one thing is, it's overall, it's an okay film, it's fine really, but it was a bit of a very weird experience for me because I went into this film, usually with animated things, I like to check beforehand the age recommendation that they have on the title site, so that you kind of get a feel what you're getting yourself into. So Netflix, for some reason, at least in Austria, they've got it as a age 7 film. So all kids aged 7 and above should be able to watch it without problems. That is, in my opinion, absolutely not the case. It's generally the themes of the film are not something that I feel is appropriate for that age. If they had put in a sort of 12, I believe would be an appropriate age, that would have been fine, but not for 7. You've got various issues that are being dealt with that I'll jump into a second, but that's the main issue I had with this, because throughout the film this was my mindset. I thought I was watching a kids film, and obviously if you go into a film with that mindset, it does change your expectations and just how you take in everything that you're seeing on screen. So as per usual, I'll try and keep rather spoiler free. But talking about the plot, it is rather simple in its setup. You've got the main character, she's a girl. I'm not quite sure how old everyone's supposed to be. They're obviously in high school, but they never say exactly how old. I would guess they're about maybe 14 or so, 14 or 15 maybe. The main character, her name's Muge, and she's this very eccentric girl, and she is heavily in love with a guy in her class. His name's Hinode, and the whole film's basically about that. She's completely fallen for him. Very cliche. He doesn't even really know she exists. She's not really in his field of view, as it were. And the whole film is basically her chasing after him, trying to impress him, and by doing so she overreacts, exaggerates everything. She just desperately tries to impress him and make an impression. And the cat stuff comes in because, and I don't feel this is really a spoiler because that's essentially what this film is about. She has this mask that she can put on and it turns her into a cat. And so she uses that to her advantage to just to get a different view on things and explore the area and the people she knows, and trying to learn something, not in a cruel way or so, not in any evil way, just learn something that will help her just advance her relationship. So that's the basic plot. You follow her along and her efforts to try and impress Hinode, but yes, I'll leave it to you if you want to watch the film to see how well that goes. And that's fine. The story in and of itself is a very classical story really. What I don't like about it is it's very over the top. Again, as I say, it's meant for kids age 7, and what you're being shown is this girl who just, for no particular reason actually, just completely falls for this guy, and it's really extreme. She seems almost possessed in the way that she's striving to force this relationship to happen, to force this guy to like her, take notice of her, what have you. And in my opinion, it's a really weird thing to show kids. Really, that, you know, this is the way you go about. You just decide that's what I want to have, and I'm going to do everything I can just to make this person like me. Which is, like I say again, it's very weird. That's not the only thing. You have generally some very dark elements in this story, because the main character, this girl, she also has issues within her own family that are explored. And I feel like, although obviously, yes, you will have kids aged 7 and a bit older who will have various family issues, but still, to me, it felt a bit much, just the way it was going on, and also particularly the conversations that everyone was having. They were showing these typical teenager conversations, which also involve various intimate subjects, which I feel wholly inappropriate for 7-year-olds, which also sort of border into well, just relationships, sex, anything like that. It just made no sense to have it in there. So that was a very, very weird choice. I'm not quite sure if that was, I'm assuming it's Netflix's fault. I assume that they themselves apply the rating to their films, so I would blame them for that. So yes, you have very many issues, and that way the characters are very interesting, so they're not really boring, they're all multi-layered, and it's very interesting to explore them and see what happens to them and how they deal with situations. You also have Muge's best friend, who tries to support her in every situation, although she can see how badly it's going, but she's still there to sort of be a cheerleader, as it were. Although she's also finding it quite hard. And you've got, again, the characters, you've got a lot of great situations there, and it's very interesting to watch with that. The story is fine, the fantastical element with her turning into a cat is fine as well. You've got some interesting thoughts and scenes there that happen. But yes, so if you go into the film with the mindset that you're actually watching a sort of teenager film, then you'll be fine. I think that will definitely add to enjoyment. But if you're like me and you're going into what you believe is a kid's film and you get all these things cropping up, it really spoils it a bit, the enjoyment, because you're expecting something completely different, and it just put me off a lot. When I thought about the film afterwards, and again, as I said, if you go into it knowing this and thinking, okay, right, fine, so I'll treat it as a film for people older than what they say it is, you'll enjoy it a lot more, and you can appreciate it a lot more as well, I feel. What else is there to say? It is an animated film, so obviously a very important question is, what is the animation like? And it is very good. I enjoyed it quite a lot. You have very bright colours, which is interesting because, again, you have some quite dark themes in the film, so that's a nice counterpoint to that. The film doesn't intentionally try to be dark. That was actually quite surprising to me, because it is rather bright, and you would say it's very joyful, and then you have these dark elements in it, so that was quite a surprise. They got me there, definitely. They use some computer generated imagery as well in this film, which is fine, but the problem is they sort of mesh it together. So typically you'd have a computer generated background, and then you'd have drawn characters added into that. And unfortunately it clashes a lot. It does not work all the time, especially, particularly I felt scenes that are just outside the house, Muge's house. You can see it there's something off about it, and you enter this uncanny valley territory where there's just something that's slightly off, and it just ruins the whole scene for me, visually at least. And so they could have done a bit better with that, but whenever they use it sparingly or not at all, the whole animation is very nice to look at. Definitely nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed it quite a lot. The cats in particular, as you can imagine, the cats are obviously a focal point of the whole story. They're beautifully done as well. Nothing to say badly about them. I suppose there's not much more to say about this without entering spoiler territory. Again, the story's fine. Just go into it with the correct mindset. You're not watching a kid's film here. If you do think it is a kid's film, please explain to me in the comments down below what I am getting wrong about it. I just feel that it'd be better to advertise as a film for teenagers, because that really seems to be the subject matter here and the target audience. The characters are great, there's a lot of dynamics going on there, they're not just one note, so they're very interesting to observe and to sort of pick apart psychologically. Story's fine, it's nothing special. Once when you get to the end you'll say, okay, yes, it's... The only thing, as I mentioned before, I'm not quite into this really possessive attitude that the main character has towards her love interest. It's very, very excessive, far too much for my liking. Yes, it's on Netflix. I looked up one thing I did mention about the name before, and talking about what the film is like. The original Japanese title is I Want to Cry and So I Pretend to Be a Cat, which makes a lot more sense because A Whisker Away tells you nothing about it. If you just look at the Japanese name, it makes so much more sense. It immediately tells you, okay, there's somebody here, well, who wants to cry, so there's obviously something going on. You know from the title immediately that there might be some issues in this film, some emotional issues. Why they want to change the title, I mean, just use the Japanese title, translated of course, but it's fine. I mean, it makes sense. Like I say, it tells you a lot more about the film than the English title. A Whisker Away. It tells you nothing whatsoever. My wife suggested that I use our cat Gustavo because he looks a bit like the main character Muga in her cat form, so I thought he'll join me for the outro here. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed the film, if you've seen it, if you want to see it, what you thought about it, maybe what I got wrong about my thoughts on it. I'd be very interested to read them. Other than that, thank you for liking and sharing the video. Subscribe to the channel for more review videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye. Are you saying goodbye as well? Bye bye.